Welcome to Sonix TV1, where you are number one and our guests are stars among stars. I am your host, Sonix, and we have an exciting show lined up for you today. Last week, we had the pleasure of having DJ Scott LaRock on the show, kicking off the new year. That's right, kicking off the new year for 2025. If you missed episode 19, be sure to check it out. But first, later in the show, we will be welcoming the one, the only, the legend, music producer, music director, Onree Gill to the show. We will be sharing exciting updates, plus we have some breaking news just for you. That's right here on Sonix TV1, your new home for entertainment. As a music producer, songwriter, musician, and audio engineer, I have had the incredible opportunity to collaborate with legends like Lauryn Hill, 50 Cent, David Bowie, and work with iconic labels such as Virgin, Capitol, and Warner Brothers, just to name a few. Today, I invite you to join me on a journey through the heart of music, entertainment, and technology. Let's dive into the stories and sounds that shape our world. Thank you for being here. Let's make some magic today. The quote of the day, it is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring us about the most lasting change. Author, Queen Elizabeth. Just don't stop believing. In 2023, I released my music video commercial, Savage. And I also will be sharing later on in the video. Also, my video for music Broadway, which was directed by Brian the Symphony Washington. So stay tuned. Up next, Savage. Keep it locked right here on Sonix TV1, your new home for entertainment.
This is a world premiere.
Hey yo, Sonix, what do you want to be when you grow up?
That's easy. A music producer, songwriter, arranger, composer, recording artist, TV host. Nah, I take that back. A savage. 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 I'm just a savage. 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 Birds flying high. You know how I feel. Sun in the sky. That was Savage, my music commercial directed by Brian Symphony Washington. We're making 6 music videos, so that was the commercial, the trailer, if you will, for our upcoming music videos. We also had the pleasure of recording Broadway in New York City, and we paid homage to my hometown, my roots, New York City, big up New York. So I'm gonna share that next, so stay tuned, keep it locked right here. We got a lot coming your way today, so buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a world premiere.
That was Broadway, produced, written, and arranged by yours truly, featuring the one and only William Prince out of Connecticut, saxophone virtuoso. If you haven't checked out his music, you can check him out at his website, WilliamPrinceMusic.net. That's WilliamPrinceMusic.net. Coming up next, we have the one and only Onree Gill, the legend, the myth, the legend that is Onree Gill. But first, please subscribe and like the channel right down below. Also, you get the descriptions and notifications when we go live and upcoming future events. So after this video, the introduction video, we will have Onree Gill. His segment was pre-recorded, so keep it locked right here on Sonix TV1, your new home for entertainment.
Onree Gill, music producer, music director, composer, and arranger. Onree Gill epitomizes humility alongside his abundant talents and entrepreneurial spirit. As the son of a musician, he is poised to leave an indelible mark on the world with his diverse abilities. Onree has captivated the music industry with his unique fusion of R&B, gospel, jazz, and hip-hop, showcasing a visionary style that sets him apart. Hailing from New York, this musical prodigy is a self-taught virtuoso, mastering instruments such as drums, keyboard, and bass guitar. His journey led him to Mannes College of Music, where he honed his skills and refined his artistry. Rooted in the church upbringing, Onree draws profound inspiration from his spiritual foundation, guided by the mantra, "To thine own self be true." He always knew his path would lead him to the music industry, a passion ignited during his early experiences in the studio with his father. Driven by an insatiable love for music, Onree has ascended to new heights, collaborating with a diverse array of artists, including Alicia Keys, John Mayer, Missy Elliott, Stevie Wonder, Gwen Stefani, Usher, and Beyonce, among many others. His impressive roster of collaborations speak to his unwavering dedication and remarkable talent in the music realm. Join me, Sonix TV1, in welcoming the one, the only, the legend, Onree Gill.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The one, the only, legendary, the man himself, Onree Gill to the show. How you feeling?
What's up, Cuzzo, man? First of all, thanks for all the love, man. That's crazy intro. I appreciate the love.
Oh man, all day the same here. All nothing but love right here. This is family right here. So we blessed to have this man, the hardest working man in show business. I thought I never slept, but this man right here, let me tell you something. we are in for a treat today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Everyone that knows this show, we always start at the beginning of the book. So today we're going to start at the beginning of the book that is Onree Gill. So tell us a little bit about your home life, where you were born, growing up. Share with the people, that were into the story. You know what I mean?
Okay, cool. Well, I was born in a little town called Kannapolis, North Carolina. It's right next to Concord, North Carolina. It's in the maybe like 20 miles away from Charlotte, North Carolina. So in the woods.
Big up to North Carolina.
Big up to NC. And I was born there, and my parents, basically they met in New York City, and then they got married in the South because one was from North Carolina, the other one was from South Carolina. So I was born in North Carolina. My grandparents gave them land in North Carolina, so they decided to build a house. So they were building a house. In the meantime, they moved back to New York while the house was being built. Well, that house became a summer home, and I grew up in the Bronx, New York, and so I had the privilege to hang out in New York and go to school and learn the street culture of New York City. And then in the summers, I went down and I hung out in the country and was picking out potatoes out the ground and shucking corn and stuff like that. So it was pretty great balance and a great childhood. And my mom was a minister, so we went to church 24/7, as we stayed in church. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and repeat. So, I got my start with playing instruments and stuff like that, in church. I was infatuated with This guy, his name was Clark Campbell, and he played drums at his father's church in New Rochelle. It was a church called St. Paul Five Baptist Church, and I just was infatuated with watching him play the drums, and that was the thing that sparked it for me. I fell in love with playing drums first. So my mom got me a drum set, so I was probably about 2 years old, and and still or younger than that, in my diaper or whatever, playing drums, banging on making noise at that time. So that's how it started.
Shout out to Clark Campbell, man. That's our guy right there.
But you already know.
And New Rochelle and St.
Yep.
Paul. Big up to everybody. So Clark inspired you to start playing. So you started playing drums. Did you play drums in school also, or just playing in church? You just grew up playing in church and then it developed?
So I grew up playing in church, and it developed with the people that were around me. So as I grew up and I got older, we went to St. Paul in New Rochelle, and then we ended up going to St. Paul in New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey. Shout out to St. Paul. And as I started learning, I started developing and looking at other instruments. So I never played in school until I got into high school. So, but when I got to high school, I wanted to play the drums, but they had like 3 or 4 drummers. So I decided to switch from drums to bass. So I actually played bass guitar in high school. And then when I was about 16 or 17, my mom got her own church. So we left St. Paul and went back to the Bronx, and the church was called Smyrna Five Baptist Holiness Church. So she didn't have a piano player, so it had to be me. So I started learning how to play piano then. So I started playing piano late, probably around 16, 17. I was always interested in it, but it seemed complicated. So, and I really didn't have anybody to teach me. However, what St. Paul did for me, because our idols are our cousins, Andre Simmons. Shout out to Bishop Simmons. That's where it all started, right there. So
shout out to cousin.
Yes, sir. So Big Cuzzo, and then you had Carlton Pope, and you had Joe Wilson. You had so many. Flip. Shout out to all of them. They all helped. And can't forget Jeff Davis, because Jeff Davis was one of the biggest influences on my career. Period.
Absolutely. Rest in peace, Jeff Davis.
Jeff Lowe. So they inspired me, but they also helped me develop my ear to know what I wanted to do, create. I might not have known how to play it, but I knew what it sounded like. So they helped develop my ear so that when I sat down, I could basically figure out what I wanted to play because I had heard it before. So I basically developed from St. Paul around 16, 17 years old, trying how to play piano and produce. Then you and I got together, then the rest is history.
You already know.
In the streets.
We was definitely in the streets.
Producing, playing everywhere, running from church to church, switching off. I play drums, you play organ, I play organ, you play drums, and we'd be producing everybody, working with Christopher Williams, I'll be sure. Man, we hit it hard.
We hit it hard and never stopped. So which came first for you, music directing or music production?
Good question. Well, music production is really my forte. That came first. I fell in love with the process of just creating records and creating music and playing and building a song from scratch to its, finished product. And just the art and nature of putting your thoughts and ideas down yourself or working with someone to build a special memento, as I would say, in a song is nothing like it. I fell in love with that process. So it was definitely production first. And as things changed, as the business changed, as technology evolved, I felt like, hey, well, I need to do more than just production. Maybe I'll perform more, because you and I were performing all the time. I think every weekend we were playing somewhere together.
We never stopped.
Yeah,
every weekend, even church services up and down the highways and byways during the week, during school. Man. We just never stopped. We was just You know, from one thing to the next, to the
It was like
studio,
a full-time job.
from the studio to the church, revivals, weekends performing with artists and recording with artists. We were just pretty much everywhere.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What was it like when you first stepped foot in the studio? What was that
Man.
moment like for you?
Well, man, I first stepped in the studio with my dad. And I was probably about I want to say probably was about 7 years old, 7 to 8 years old. And he allowed me to play drums on this record. Now he had a better drummer than than me at the time, but he was like, I'm gonna put you on this song. So I remember going to the studio and I'm playing, like, the drum set is huge, and I'm this little kid, and the mistake he made though was he told me that we were gonna do it 2 weeks prior before we did it. So I just like, yo, is the time yet? When's the time? I'm gonna go to the studio. I want to play. I'm excited, and it was just on my mind every day in school. I couldn't concentrate because I was just like excited to go to the studio. So when we got there, to be with the other musicians, and basically they had played their parts already. So I had to come in and play the drums, and my sister sang. I think she was probably, I don't know, about 4 or 5, somewhere in there, probably 5. And she sang on the record, but I still remember playing the toms and the sound of the toms. I didn't know anything about tuning, so whatever it was at that time, I just played it. But I was excited to sit down and put on headphones and play to a song.
So your dad was a musician as well?
Yes, my dad was a musician. First of all, he was super talented. He had I think he had 4 degrees, 2 masters, 2 bachelors, and he studied music. He could write, read, create, paint, sculpture. Man, he was definitely super, super talented. So he took me in the studio because he wrote the song, and he did a lot of work with Freddie Jackson and GQ. Those are the bands he worked with a lot in writing. Not Donald Lawrence. What's his name? I can't think of the guy's name. Ron Lawrence. There it is. He worked with Ron Lawrence a lot. So, he was always trying to evolve in music in his life. So he took me into the studio first, and it was unbelievable. I remember, and I wasn't scared. I was just excited to do it, but everything looked bigger than what it was because I was probably about 7, 8 years old. And I remember hitting the snare drum and the kick drum and trying to make sure I stayed in time, and how they stopped me and say, we're going to re-record this again, do that fill again and stuff like that. And it was amazing. It was amazing experience. And that was the genesis of the bug for me.
Name some of the artists you've been fortunate to actually do music production for, produce for.
Alicia Keys, Christopher Williams, Kelly Price, Britney Spears, Jennifer Hudson. You got me thinking now, bro. I'm just trying to drop.
He has worked with some of everybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's the equivalent of asking if you were a chef, what ingredients go into making an apple pie? Like, you just.
I don't know. I don't even know if I did a good job. I'm just trying to remember. Certain records I'm on. Queen Latifah, LL Cool J. I don't know, man. It's a lot.
It's everybody pretty much. Yeah. So when did you start music directing?
It was probably around 1990. Well, we were always music directing, you and I.
Facts.
But professionally, we started about 1991?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
90, 91, somewhere in that era. And I just realized as we were doing production, how could we make money besides production? Because sometimes production got slow, as you know. And back in those days, we were creating CDs and we were recording to 2-inch reels. So I just wanted to be diverse. I just wanted to diversify, and I've always been that way. So even now that I think about it, even then it wasn't just about having a one-track mind. I'm only going to be a producer. No, I'm going to produce, and I'm going to work with other artists live and get those checks too. So around there, 1991, 92, somewhere in there, and I started music directing. And that took on a whole nother great part of my career.
Yeah, once you got kind of like down that rabbit hole, it just seemed like it just grabbed a hold of you and you was gone.
Bro, I had no life after that. Thank God, knock on wood. I just went from one artist to the other, or I had 5 or 6 artists at one time. And I'm blessed to say I was in demand at that time. So, I was working with everybody. I'd leave one artist and fly to the next and the next, and just kept moving. However, it took a toll on the rest of my life, my personal life. It affects you if you're, you can't be in 2 places at one time.
Yeah, you never sleep, you barely eat, you're always moving around, you're always traveling. It's a great sacrifice, that you and your family, everyone, takes part in this success, so the people that are supporting you, your family, your relationships, everyone is there, part of this, this entity making it successful. So as a whole, so name some of the artists you music directed for.
Oh man,
I'm putting them on the spot today. We getting all in the business.
Put me on the spot, I'm trying to think. Stevie Wonder, Prince, Alicia Keys, 50 Cent. I'm just trying to think. Jasmine Sullivan, CeeLo Green, Linkin Park. Man, you got me trying to just think, and a bunch of others, man. I mean, and then I've done award shows where I've had 20 or 15, 20, 30 artists on it at times, So I worked with Jodeci, Joe Thomas, Lettucey. I'm trying to think of Lionel Richie.
It just goes on and on.
Bro, I don't even try to keep up.
Man, that's an amazing thing. God just opened doors, man, and then you just off to the races doing what you love. This man is a multi-instrumentalist. Name some of the instruments that you play.
Okay, cool. I just want to say this though before I do that. You hit on something. None of this is possible without God for me. Without Jesus Christ, without God, none of this was possible. So I'm grateful to God for giving me the talent and the gifts to do what I do. Just got to make sure I say that out there. I play piano, bass, and drums. And then, we figure out other instruments if we need to pick it up. I need to pick up a guitar to play a line, then I'll pick up a guitar and pick it up and do what I got to do. But those are the ones I play.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead, my bad.
Oh, no, but I also do orchestration, which I love doing. I fell in love with that about 18 years ago. So just doing, orchestration and doing arrangements. It's such a beautiful and rewarding gift, So once you sit home and you write something and all of a sudden you go into a studio and you with a 70-piece orchestra and hear them play back what you created and the way you did it, it's nothing like it. It's just
Absolutely.
magic.
There's nothing like that. You have these compositions in your head, and then God gives you the talent and the knowledge how to actually express it where you can actually hear it back or see it. It's just nothing like that. The work that goes into it, most may not understand it, but the composing, the arranging, the hours, the relentless hours of getting it right and creating it in the first place it's definitely taxing, and it's a sacrifice. We're going to take a little short break right here, and then we'll be right back with the one and only Onree Gill.
My bro.
Take my breath away with your love. glorious. It's your loving and your sweet. Just like sugar cane, you're my weakness. 'Cause everything I do is for you. Oh, baby, baby. And rest assured my love is true. It's a love crusade. Come on, take a ride with me. Come on, take a ride with me. Filled with love and fantasy. I'm with you forever. Let's take a love crusade. Caravan of ecstasy. Filled with love and fantasy. I love you forever. Let's make a love crusade. They say love is a novelty. It's the price you have to pay for loving all its ways. Don't be a casualty when you miss out on real love, because it's heaven sent from up above, yeah. 'Cause everything I do is for you. Oh, baby, baby. And rest assured my love is true. It's a love crusade. Come on, take a ride with me, baby. Come on, take a ride with me. Filled with love and fantasy. I'm with you forever. Let's take a love crusade, baby. Caravan of ecstasy. Filled with love and fantasy. I love you forever. Let's make a love crusade. Come on, take a ride with me, baby. Come on, take a ride with me. Filled with love and fantasy. I'm with you forever. Let's take a love crusade. Ecstasy. Filled with love and fantasy. I love you, baby, forever. Let's make a love crusade. Come on, take a ride with me. Filled with love and fantasy. Just take a ride with me. I'm with you forever. Let's take a love crusade. Ecstasy. Filled with love and fantasy. I love you forever. Let's make a love crusade. I'm with you forever. Let's take a love crusade. I love you forever and ever. Love crusade. I love you.
And we're back. We're here
Yes,
with
sir.
the one and only Onree Gill. We're excited and happy to have the maestro himself with us today. I'm excited to have him on the show. We've been trying to schedule for a little bit, but we got him right here, ladies and gentlemen.
My bad.
Sonix TV, we so excited. No, man, we're just glad to have you. We're just excited to have you on the show, man. We understand this man is one of the hardest working men in show business. We know what it is already, so we're telling his story. We opened up with, childhood. We got into, how he transpired, and we're going to share a little more of his history today. So tell us about the technology, because you were, using computers very early on. And one of the things that you and I was working with was a digital performer. How did that come to be,
Wow. Well, as first of all, we go back a little bit before that DP. We went back to Atari Notator.
Facts.
People don't know about that. So, but as technology progressed, you and I would both go to the studio, and next thing you know, they're using computers, and we're like, "What's that?" We're ready to sit down the old-fashioned way. Hey, we're gonna play this song straight through. I'm lay the drum track from 0, 0, 0 to 3 minutes and a half. Well, back then it was probably about 4 or 5 minutes, but yeah, we're gonna start from the top to the bottom. And when we got in the studio, we saw that technology had evolved. We didn't have to do all that. So it changed things, and I was introduced shout out to Eddie Krakow. I know you remember Eddie.
Yes, sir. Eddie. Shout out to Eddie.
My Jewish brother, he introduced me to the Atari computer and notated program. And I couldn't imagine, wait, I can do all of this stuff in this one session in these 2 hours where I was expected to be here for 8 hours. And it was life-changing for me. So I really thought it was imperative as a producer, not only to be able to produce and play, but learn the craft, learn the technology part of the craft, and learn the sonics. What are frequencies? Why do we use frequencies? How do frequencies work in music? And what's the importance of having frequencies blend? A lot of people put, different frequencies together and they don't work. I'll give you an example. A lot of people have a bass drum or kick drum, and then they have the kick drum and the bass guitar or sub bass or 808 on the same frequency, and that creates what I call mud. So how did you learn that? You can hear something and it might feel good, but then the technical sonic part of it is learning and mastering the craft of engineering and technology, and learning those boards or computers or computer programs, those DOS as they call them now.
So we were, you and I both were actually immersed in technology pretty much right from the beginning. We learned to record the 2-inch tape. We learned to record the ADAT. We learned to record to D88s. We learned to record and splice from the beginning. Like you said, we were playing everything down live, and then we were introduced to this technology. Started with the laptop, Atari notator, and creator, digital performer. We just, embraced technology, and that allowed us to continue the journey by always embracing it. So tell us some of the technology that you embraced and some of the gear that you started with, and what are you using nowadays?
Cool. Well, that's a great point. A lot of that technology got me jobs also when there wasn't any work for musicians. So I just want to be clear. So I found I found it important to learn the gear, learn the equipment. So man, we started on Roland 626 drum machines, S900 Atari samplers, and that was a whole nother thing. MPC. I think my very first, I had an MPC 60 or an MPC 62, I think I had. And I had all kind of samplers from S900 to 1000. I had all kind of keyboards from Korg keyboards to Sonics. We had Yamaha, and we just got into all that type of gear during those times. So, D50s by Roland.
SP1200.
Listen, I was a killer or straight on a 1200 and an MP.
EPS. We was
pick
just
EPS, pick your poison. But I made sure
even 505. We went back to the 505.
505 R8s, Lin drums. It was important to know all that, because when you got to a studio as well, you never knew what gear they had unless you brought your own. Sometimes, we would fly to different, states and work with different people. We might not have all that gear, and we just had to use what was in the studio. Well, there's no time to learn it on the job. You got to know it before you get there. So it was a real intriguing thing for me to learn as much gear as I possibly could, because that was my value. I felt like, hey, if I know this, I know that, I know how to work this, I know that work that, I'll always have a job. So that was my purpose of learning that. And plus, when I got into a studio situation or whatever, a creative situation, I wanted to be able to work to the best of my ability. So I did a lot. You and I both spent a lot of time learning in all the new technology at that time. Where, like I said, we talked about all the Sonic products, the Kai, the Yamaha stuff. And then as time progressed, we went on to DAWs, and, of course, there was studio, there was Performer, there was one of my favorites now. It was so funny. What do they call, man, I'm stuck right now. What do they call Pro Tools before it was Pro Tools? It was two names.
It was
Um,
DigiDesign before it became Avid, and then they had Classic. You know,
they had another one before. I forgot what it was called. Now I'm tripping. Anyway, we were way back in those days learning those programs, and Pro Tools became one of my favorite programs.
mine
Logic,
as well.
yep, Logic. I'm heavy now. I love Logic, and I really like Ableton. Ableton is like super dope. Ableton, actually a sleeper is Studio.
Studio One.
Yeah, Studio One is pretty
It's
dope.
me, yeah.
A lot of people don't know. It's pretty amazing. So now it just depends on my mood, what I feel like using. So I might go to use Studio One, I might use Logic, I might use Pro Tools, but I always end up in Pro Tools because it's kind of like my digital tape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll create and write in different DAWs, and then bounce down into WAV files, and the session always ends up in Pro Tools. I think it's important to use different DAWs. I think because they create different sounds and different feels. Just like different drum machines back in the day. You use R8, you get a different feel from the Lin drum or from the 505, So it gives you, or from the MP or the 1200, the gray box or the black box.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it depends. So I think it's important to do that because that helps develop your own sound. And that's why
it's basically tools, like different types of tools. There's different types of hammers, there's different types of screwdrivers, there's different types of tools in the shed. So growing up, you and I, there was never any manuals around. As he's talking about all this equipment, we never had manuals.
No.
Zero,
and if we did,
zero.
The menu was like that big. We're like, nope, we'll figure it out ourselves.
Nobody had time to read no manuals. We was. You got to think about this. We were working in probably $5, $10, $20 million studios every day. And then the clock is running. You talking $100, $200, $300, $500, $1,000 an hour to be in those rooms. Nobody got time to learn nothing. It was just go. And because you and I, we were always just sponges. We soaked up any equipment that came our way, any vibe that came our way. And I think that the way we grew up, around the people we grew up, it was just, you was thrown in the water. You was thrown in the fire. You didn't have time to say, I don't know this. You don't have time to say, give me a minute. I'll learn it today. I'll see you tomorrow. You didn't have that time. You just say, okay, here's this equipment, make it work. And then back in the day, we would have to wire every piece of equipment to communicate to each other. And if you had to know how to wire, your MIDI, you had to wire up, we was going 6 feet of racks of equipment, and here's wire it up, make it work, make it all talk to each other.
Listen, that musical instrument digital interface, they don't know about that life.
No, sir.
But it also created value for you, right? It was an investment that you learned those products, right? And those instruments, and it worked out for you so that you could get a paycheck. Because some people couldn't run an MPC. Some people couldn't, like you said, knew how to make MPC talk to the S1000. So your value was big at those times, because then you could sit there and work with different artists and make money.
And actually, what the thing is, nowadays, you just point and click, and it's already pre-wired on the back end. You just point and click what instrument you want, and it just preloads and
draw it. Man.
You just throw a USB, to whatever, keyboard, the serial port, and then you're working. Back in the day, you got to wire all of that. And so now the technology has evolved with the DAWs, digital recording systems, where it's just a lot of things are just pre-wired, point and click. You get yourself a laptop, you get yourself an interface and some kind of controller, and you're working. You could be working probably like $1,500. You could, you could be working.
listen, you running a multi-million-dollar operation with $1,500. You know what I'm saying? There's no time code that they worried about, no SMPTE,
No splicing tapes.
no splicing, no syncing and locking up machines. Man, I mean, those were the good old days. It taught you either you were going to win in this business or you're going to lie down or go work somewhere else. Either it helped you. It built my character. It helped build me as a professional and build me as a musician and a producer. Either I'm going to learn these and be the best that I can, or this is not for me.
Well, you definitely became one of the best to ever do it, because you got to look at it like this, you know, the amount of musical genres you covered, musical spectrums you covered, you know, you work pretty much with just about everybody on the highest level. And not just for a couple of years, this has been a lifetime of you just working with the best to ever do it. And so, you know, that's a testament to who you are, your perseverance. You know, you stuck with it. You know, we all are given obstacles, but it's that stick to itness, the fight for what you believe in, the fight for the integrity of what you do. You know, iron, you know, sharpens iron. So who you're around, basically you become. So I always say, stay with it, you know, and I be encouraged in what you're doing. So that being said, you know, you got into composing, man, and composing and arranging, even in production, you know, for different, for recordings and for live TV shows. You know, name some of the people you've done composing and shows you actually, you know, were the music director. You've done some of the biggest shows in the world. So share some of that history with us, man.
That's a good question. Well, I've been music director for Soul Train Awards, BET Awards, worked on shows like Dance with the Stars, I Can See Your Voice, so many different television shows. And I'm trying to think, you put me on the spot. I'm like, yeah,
I got to, man, because your history is bananas, man.
Thanks. I'm just trying to think. Well, those are a few, you know what I mean? So there's many more, I'm sure. When I'm off this, I'm like, oh, I could have named this one, that one, that one, that one.
It happens to me all the time. Like, I always forget.
That's a few. And I wanted to touch base on something you just said prior. You talked about integrity. I think it's important to have longevity in this business is to have integrity and to treat people right and to be punctual, be on time, be a good person, because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you have a horrible personality, or you're just mean, or you don't carry yourself well, or you're not punctual, all those things can affect your position in your job. So I never professed to be the greatest musician or greatest in anything, but I know I will always beat you, because I always come into work prepared. I be ready. My attitude's right. I be on time, and I'll know all the parts that I need to know to make this job successful. That's some of the stuff that's important that we skip over. Kind of look at the glamour of it, but it takes long hours. It takes 12, 13, 14, 20 hours sometimes to do a job. And you complaining and him and Han, it's not going to help anything. And it doesn't help from a business standpoint. I always tell people I'm in the business of music, not the music business. Business first. So business means if I need to be there for 12, 15 hours to get the job done, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to be him and Han and feel like I deserve more. Because if you decide to do a job and you agree upon the pay, then you go do it to the best of your ability. Don't sit there and him and Han, oh, they could have gave me more for this. That's stupid. You know what I mean? And it's not going to help you. If you agree to do something, you do it, and you do it to the best of your ability. Next time around, you didn't negotiate.
The professionalism comes first.
All day.
That's things you can control. You know, and a lot of people wonder why they get passed over or they don't get the opportunities. Or, you know, why is this guy, you know, I'm better than this guy, to get this in their head. But it's really, you know, how you carry yourself. The professionalism, the business aspect is the bigger portion. You know, a lot of guys can play, a lot of guys can write, produce, but you know, you
but think you be on time.
Punctual, you know.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
You know, JB used to go,
Exactly. And here's another thing. A lot of times people say, "Yo, I come to rehearsal to rehearse." Rehearsing, when you come to rehearsal, you should be prepared already as a professional. You're not coming to rehearsal to learn the songs. You should know
Facts.
before you get there.
Facts.
That's how I operate. That's a professional. That's the difference between high school, college, and the pros. You know what I'm saying? You come already knowing the plays. You know what's required of you. Rehearsal then is about building chemistry. That's what rehearsal's all about.
You could say that again, man.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot we can talk about and teach, but I think that we inspire people to realize and understand, like you said, it's not about you, it's about the team and you doing your part and being prepared so that when you're in an atmosphere like that, they can see your worth and your value. I'd rather take a guy who is an average player than take a guy who's a phenomenal player, but is never prepared, never on time, never willing to go the extra mile. The guy who doesn't play as great is grateful for the opportunity, hardworking, punctual, and prepared. I'll take that any day over the best musicians you know.
Facts. He prepared, business acumen, professional, shows up and he's going to play his heart out. He's going to give his all every single time. Most guys, they think, I got the gig now, I can just relax or I can just show out. They get attitudes along the way. They don't realize that they can be replaced just like with a phone call.
Anybody. And I'll say this, a lot of musicians complain because they don't know their business. Here's the thing. Don't be hyped to play for this one, that one, blah, blah, blah. Get the business done first. It doesn't matter what they tell you or promise you. I'll tell you a story real quick. So there was a guy named Maurice Starr. All right. So, he's responsible for like New Edition. Who else? What's the other big group?
He helped. Did he help with like the Backstreet Boys or one of the
Backstreet Boys? What's the other ones? Was it Backstreet?
NSYNC.
Well, no, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. It was another one. Well, anyway, I think you might have been right. It might have been Backstreet. I don't know. Anyway, I remember, he got my number. He called me. He was like, "Hey, man, I want you to produce for me, do some work. I'm working on this and that and that. You can work at my I have a SSL studio in my penthouse in downtown Manhattan. But once you come up to Boston, where I live, and let's talk and work out this business." I said, "Okay, cool." So I flew up there, and I'm at the airport. This guy has my name on the sign, and the limo. I get in this limo. He drives to a place. Get out that limo and get another limo. Here's Maurice. We talk. As we're driving, we're talking. He goes, "I own this, that. Let's go to the studio. Show you where you can." So we go to his studio, and he goes in. It's like 4 or 5 rooms, and they all have SSLs or Neve consoles. So they, this studio is probably about 15, 20 million, right? All the gear he has in it. And he's saying, "Let's do this, let's do that. We're gonna do this." I said, "Okay, great." So he said, "Today I'm actually opening up a restaurant, and I have a block party. So the whole block is, blocked off for this party. So let's go to that." I went to that, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy, blah, blah. He says, "So, hey, we're going to go back to my house. I have a 30-room mansion. So we'll go back there. We'll talk about business, and, we'll take it from there." I said, "Okay, cool." Because I had to go back. I was actually working on the Jade album at that time. And get to his house, and he goes, and I get in his foyer. It's huge. And there's these white double doors. I'll never forget. He was like, "I'll be right back. I'm going to go get the key." So he goes to get the key, and he opens up this double white door, and there's everything that you could ever imagine. All the Grammys, the American Music Awards, the multi-million dollar plaques from I think it was Backstreet Boys, and New Edition, blah blah blah. And he says, "Well, I want you to start working on music, this week. I want you to do this and that and that and that." So I said, "Well, let me see the contract, and we'll take it from there." He says, "Oh, you want a contract?" I was like, "Yeah. If we're doing all this this is all the stuff that you promised, so I need to see it in writing." So he's like, "Well, let me back up a little bit." He said, "Well, you can spend a night here. I got 30 rooms, no problem, right? We're gonna create magic together. So after I talked about the contract, he said, I'll be right back. So I'm sitting in the room, and it's 30 minutes go by, and then he comes back and he says, hey, man, thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here. And instead of staying here, I got you a hotel downtown at the Four Seasons and blah, 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 blah. And we never worked together. So my whole point about that was, as long as I was willing to gravitate toward the hype that he was feeding me and selling me, it was cool. Once I started talking business, it went out the window. And I'll never forget that. And I kept that as a memory always when I did business. It's about business first. I don't care how well you play or what you're offering. It's about me making sure that I get what I deserve because I'm doing a service. And that's what's important. Know your business. Know what there's no surprises, and you know everything about what you're getting. You're creating a service, and this is what you paid for. Don't be hyped into the service. I'm gonna do this first, and then you wonder why you didn't get the $20,000 you thought you were going to get when you only got 200. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So
know your business. Also get representation that's on your side. You heard he said, I have 3 attorneys.
Yes.
3. So make sure you got, people on your side, on your team, fighting for you on your behalf, and then making sure that, you are signing, what you're signing, and you're signing good deals that benefit you and your family for the long haul, so that is a testament, like I said, the integrity, the business. And so one of the things that my mentor taught me was, shout out to Bruce Purse. He said, music business, what's the bigger word? And I said, as a young coming up, I said, business. He said, you'll do more time handling business than you will be making music. So
absolutely. Again,
take care of your business and it'll take care of you. That's from Bruce Purse. Shout out to Bruce, man. Take care of your business. Yeah. Another thing, we've been on a while, but I do want to hit this really quickly because it's a testament to kind of where you are, you elevated to, composing and arranging, working with orchestras. Many may not know that's a part of your history. So a little quick hit about that before we, jump out of here.
I fell in love. Okay, so as a music director, I remember I would have to call other people to do other things, right? So it was imperative to me, if I'm going to be a music director, I need to make sure that I can do everything. I need to be able to communicate with the guitarist, but I also need to be able to show the bass player that I want him to play the low F on the E string on the first fret. Not only that, if there's orchestration that needs to be done, instead of subbing it out or calling somebody to help, I need to learn it for myself to be a complete music director. So I went back to school to shout out to Manus, the new school, and I learned orchestration. I mean, I could hear what I want to do. That's the great part, but I just didn't know how to write it down or explain it to other musicians. So I thought it was imperative that I learn it. I want to learn my craft completely, know it to the fullest. So there was nothing I couldn't do. So there was, if an artist asked me, can I do something? I didn't have to say no. That bothered me to say no. So I went back and I learned how to orchestrate and arrange and write. And man, the first thing I've ever written for an artist was actually for Alicia Keys. And I wrote, I did a arrangement of Human Nature by Michael Jackson for it was the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony in Norway, Oslo. And I had a 73-piece orchestra, and it was the most scariest thing because I wrote it out, and you don't know how it's going to turn out until you hear it back. And I played it, and I played it with the band. And
we had some technical difficulties, so we want to say thank you to Onree Gill for joining us. He's going to come back at a later date and later time. We thank you so much for joining us. If you want to reach out to Onree, you can find him at Onree Gill on all social media. At Onree Gill. All social media. At Onree Gill. And also you want to find out about myself and the artistry that I have, you can check me out on my website, sonicsmusic.net, sonixmusic.net. Also, if you want to check out some of my merchandise made by Jolu Enterprises, you can check out my merchandise at sonicsmusic.net/store, www.sonicsmusic.net/store. If you like what you've seen, you like what you've heard, subscribe and like the channel right down below. Also, you get the descriptions and notifications of when we go live and also upcoming future events. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. Thank you everyone for joining us today on Sonix TV1, where you are number one and our guests are stars among stars. I greatly appreciate you spending your time with me today, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Be inspired, be uplifted, be entertained. Be inspired, be uplifted, be entertained. I am your host, Sonix, and I'll see you next time right here on Sonix TV1. God bless.